Hi, it's 3:09 on Sunday the 11th of April. I'm finally alone and I feel like it's time to address this situation. In my last Disney sequels video, I heavily criticized Bambi 2. I didn't like it. I honestly thought it was a bit tedious, but a lot of the comments strongly disagreed with that with some completely different and quite lovely interpretations of the film, and I just want to say I'm glad you enjoyed it. That's fine, but the fact that 1.9% of you disliked the video, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed in myself for letting almost 200 people down. I have that on my conscience now, so please let this be my apology. And with that, I fully expect this video will get no dislikes now. And I know you're probably an edgy kid thinking, yeah, I'm just gonna dislike it because you said that. But here's the thing, you can't. That dislike button, it's gone now. So I guess that's that then. It's time for Atlantis 2, Milo's Return. Even though, to be honest, this film's much more about Kida than Milo, so I don't know if that's just some sexism right there, but make that what you will. Genuinely, I'm only covering this one today because I want to avoid any and all backlash, and this one has only been requested to me because of how bad it is. And I should probably preface this by saying I don't even think Atlantis the Lost Empire is that good. I didn't grow up with it or ever watch it as a kid to my knowledge, and there were two far superior animated movies that also came out that year, so I have no real nostalgia for it. And I know this is probably going to offend some people who consider it to be like a hidden gem of Disney movies, but it just felt like the most basic, surface level movie I've ever seen. Like, it's just kind of there, your friendly neighborhood 2000s Disney movie, and somehow the sequel was a million times worse. Okay, maybe not a million, that's a pretty big number, but I kid you not, I genuinely took one look at this film and just thought, oh no, please, I pray. The drop in animation quality is real with this one. Like, I don't know how to describe it other than it's a kids' TV show. I watched a kids' TV show that was squashed and packaged into a movie for what I wish I could say was the first time. And I'm not saying kids' TV shows are bad, but it does that thing where it explains what's happening purely for the audience while it's happening. I don't know, I feel like they do that in kids' TV shows, but I wouldn't actually know. I don't watch kids' TV shows because, well, my audience hasn't bullied me into doing that yet. But I imagine it's only a matter of time until day one of requesting Seamus to watch. No, this is an invitation, please stop. So long story short, this was supposed to be a TV show. Who would have guessed? I literally just. And the basic premise is that the city of Atlantis is thriving again and everyone's happy, which means only one thing. The search is over. Kida is the first good ruler in an animated film ever. Unlike the tyrants in power in pretty much every film, she seems to have restored Atlantis to prosperity. So naturally, she leaves them all to go on an adventure. Or 3 adventures, which actually, I take back the thing I said about her being a good ruler. Can we just cut that out, please? Sorry, what? The rest of the sentence doesn't make sense. If you don't, it doesn't matter. Let's just move on. So yeah, this whole film is once again split up into 3 very organically materialized adventures. The first one, there's actual setup for. A ship's been attacked by a sea monster, they want help from Kida, it actually makes sense. And then while we're watching the aftermath of the day being saved, they get a phone call saying, there's a new situation that you all need to deal with right now, even though it's in the desert and for all we know has nothing to do with Atlantis. You all must go, especially Kida, who's leaving her people behind. And repeat again. It's kind of like, imagine after the Avengers when they're all sat in the Shawarma Palace and suddenly Tony gets a call from Nick Fury saying, okay, I know the film just ended, but we're gonna need to go on for another 2.5 hours. This Thanos guy showed up in New York looking for these Infinity Stones. And in hindsight, that would be setting up Infinity War, which is just all around, what a movie. It's a terrible comparison. My point is, there are 3 stories going on at once, and I feel like I've made this video 10 times before, so to make it more enjoyable for you at home, I'm going to continue on with this bad MCU film comparison analogy and compare each of the stories to a different MCU film. For your enjoyment, not for mine. So first we've got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Just without the incredible soundtrack, interesting characters, decent storytelling, or an ending that makes you feel anything. To be honest, other than that, it might as well be Guardians 2. So as I already covered, at the start, there's this big Kraken monster they all have to come together and take on. Which, what did I say? It's basically the same film, except in this, we don't get a cool fight scene or anything. Matter of fact, they almost get eaten by it, just escaping in these pod things, and they somehow arrive in this obscure and secluded place that's got a weirdly suspicious guy in charge. Don't ask me how they got there. They rushed through it so much I can't even remember. And here on the Disney Sequels show, that's what we call great storytelling. Just straight from one part of the film to another. I don't really know what's going on. So they all want to find out what's up with this guy, work out his secrets, and therefore, as you do, they walk off a cliff. No, it's not even really a fake out death to me. It's just a cliche, characters falling down a cliff, but stretch out my arm and you'll manage to grab my hand just as my grip loosens. You don't need to see it to have seen it. And at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter. It was just an unnecessary hurdle in which they go back to doing what they were doing before immediately after they resolved the problem. What did I say? Great storytelling. Continuing on from there, they follow this guy again, really smashing home the unimportance of the previous scene since they're doing exactly what they were doing, which led to them falling down the cliff, but now with different results. This time they discover a secret cave where all the victims of the bad guy are kept. Parallels. And they very abundantly clearly show us what's going on with the bad guy. You know, he's here, people are getting hypnotized, you can put 2 and 2 together. Except no, they don't think we can. They feel the need to explain it amongst each other purely for the benefit of the audience.
Good is controlling the Kraken. Look at the workers, they look hypnotized.
And I agree, this isn't really a fair complaint. The problem isn't them doing this, but me watching something I'm way too old to be watching, but I also want to complain about it, so I will continue to do so. Then, finally, they head off to take on the Kraken once and for all, and oh, big twist, this guy wasn't even the bad guy, it was the Kraken all along. Sorry, that's not Guardians 2, my mistake. And they reach this revelation, a discovery no set of characters from any movie has ever come up with before, being that if they all shoot their torpedoes at once, rather than separately, they'll kill the Kraken. And that's what they do. It explodes, just like Ego! Sorry, I'm gonna stop. Like, this wasn't just bad, it was genuinely hard to watch. Unironically, I checked how long there was to go, more than I smiled during this, and I was shocked to find out there is still an hour left to go in this film. Meanwhile, my smile counter is at 0. Like, sometimes I genuinely enjoy bad movies more than I enjoy good ones, because you can just laugh at how bad they are, but this doesn't even have that going for it. It's just all round unenjoyable. And it's after this we get the Shawarma Palace scene where they get a call from Dr. Sweet, who's having some trouble in the southwest. And while admittedly I wasn't the biggest fan of the original, I will give it credit where it's due. I thought the world building was really good, and despite being in ruins, I liked the style of Atlantis and genuinely thought it looked great. And if you, like me, thought this might be the saving grace of this film as they explore different parts of Earth, you'd be disappointed because, well, the world building is bad. It all felt small, lacking, flat. I'm not the best with these descriptive words. But long story short, the Southwest didn't look great. And with that, let's get into the second story, Spider-Man Far From Home. So apparently, there's been an attack on some guy in the Southwest by this misty, ghost-like being. And, well, from the perspective of they were just in Norway, Mexico is very much in the Southwest, meaning these films had the exact same opening. You know, Beyond the Fishbowl, the beautiful fishbowl. This, instead, involves a vase, which kind of the same thing. Nature in that. So they go on a road trip, and this creepy man just standing on the side of the road appears as they drive past 3 times. Which, speaking for rational people here, on the list of possible approaches to this situation, inviting him into the car isn't on that list. So I guess this is a rare case of guess what happens in this unpredictable Disney sequel. What do you guys think happens? Do you think they invite him? Yeah, they invite him into the car. And as you'd expect, he just starts filling them in with the lore of his people, which, what is with films and doing this? Can you imagine meeting someone and them going, "Hi, I'm Seamus. The Anglo-Saxons invaded what I now call my home in the 4th century. I'm a direct descendant of them before the Norman invasion in 1066. I will never forgive." And it's here that they finally get attacked by these elemental sand coyote spirits. Then they crashed. And to be honest, that was all just contextual filler. It wasn't important in the grand scheme of things. So let's get back into the vase. Because apparently if they can track down where it was produced and return it to that place, the attacks will stop. And that's where the mole man comes in. Because apparently he can tell where the vase was made with his tongue. As you do. And for that reason, I've chosen to pretend that this character doesn't exist outside of the Incredibles universe. So they go back to where the vase is from and discover this tapestry of culture, is what I wrote while I was making notes on the film. And honestly, looking back, that's way too flattering to the actual film, but I like the sentiment. And it's at this moment they get backstabbed by the antique store owner, aka the person they befriended along the way. And oh, does that sound familiar in any way? And he well, he monologues his entire plan. You can just watch it.
I trap you and your friends in this cave, and then I take all the treasure from myself. But I think I'll get away with it.
And you're probably thinking, oh, well, that's over then. But fortunately for the gang, that sand misty, ghost-like coyote spirit ends up taking down the bad guy for them. So they restore the vase to where it was meant to be, and that's it. They didn't do anything, learn anything, or help anyone in this entire story. I don't know what the point was, but all is well. Except after everything's resolved twist ending, as the creepy hitchhiker guy comes back and says that the rest of the world must not find out about these ancient secrets and therefore they must never leave. Except they tell him that they also have a secret that the rest of the world can't find out about it and can be trusted. So he asks them, what is this secret? And they can't tell him because it's a secret. So therefore he knows they can be trusted to keep the secret because it's a secret. Hope that made sense, because it's time to get into the third story, which I feel is the hardest one to compare an MCU movie to. And again, just to reiterate, I'm not trying to claim they're comparable to the MCU movies in terms of quality. I'm just trying to grasp at the smallest of straws in terms of the basic story elements to make this video more entertaining. And with this one, I don't even know where you could start to try and make a comparison to an MCU movie. Like, I guess Black Panther, if we're really gonna try, maybe. There aren't even enough words to describe. So following the Southwest incident, they all go back to Mr. Whitmore's place, just about to set off back to Atlantis and finally finish this film once and for all, only for him to tell them something got stolen last night. And the film goes on, because apparently Odin, as in the Norse god Odin, stole a spear from his house last night. And, well, as they put it,
He's gonna use the spear to bring about Ragnarok.
but like, how on earth am I meant to compare this to an MCU movie? I don't even know what I'm watching. Apparently the spear's an Atlantean spear though, and it's been stolen, so I guess that can parallel with vibranium weapons being stolen from Wakanda, and that's Black Panther. It's a stretch, but probably the best we're gonna get. So they head off to his castle, which he calls Asgard, and they get attacked by a snow monster protecting the castle. And I know what you're thinking, but no, unfortunately Frozen doesn't count as an MCU movie, so that's off the table. And it's here they do something extraordinary for one of these movies, as a character starts to feel emotions resembling, well, character development. With Kida starting to realize her dad may have been right in the first film when he foresaw Atlantean weapons bringing about the end of the world. Which again, is kind of like Black Panther, right? You know, trying to comprehend why their father, the king, was so afraid the technology could do more damage than good. However, in Black Panther, it actually made sense and told a nice overarching story. In this one, it just kind of felt like they were backtracking and disregarding the message from the first film. Again, I'm sorry, this movie doesn't really tie into an MCU movie very well. Long story short, they're Odin's prisoners now, and he starts accusing them of being other mythological Norse figures.
I know you. You're the trickster. Loki, you seek the power of my spear. Brunhilde, my daughter, my Valkyrie. You've come to rule the new world at my side.
And then he sets out to prevent Ragnarok, which from everyone else's perspective means destroy the world. Because, you know, he's got one of those typical villain mentalities where he thinks destroying the world is saving the world. And if I've learnt one thing, it's never question why a villain wants to destroy the world, because something to do with great storytelling. I don't know. Anyway, this all finally leads to him creating this lava monster, which feels familiar for some reason. And it and the snow monster start teaming up to destroy the world, I think. But the gang managed to get the spear off them and then kill them with said spear. That's it. It was that easy. Asgard isn't a place, it's a people. You know, I've just read, this would have made a great comparison to Ant-Man. Doesn't matter now, because as the third story is coming to a close, Kida and Milo go back and return the spear to Atlantis, and you've got to wonder, what did Kida think of Earth? Like, oh boy, that was awful. There was just problem after problem. Humans are just out to get each other, but no, actually, she had a great time and didn't think human beings were bad at all at the end of it, so therefore decides to rise Atlantis back to the surface and open their secrets up to the rest of the world, which, for the record, that is the exact same ending as Black Panther. This is the perfect comparison. Don't at me on this, I'm sorry. We're done with the Marvel stuff. Because if they'd actually revolved an entire film around this plot point rather than just stringing a bunch of TV show episodes together with Kida's lesson, learning about the world, and wanting to share Atlantis' secrets with them purely as additional animation being done to link the stories more closely, their words, not mine, this could have actually been a decent story, but instead, we got this. And I want to apologize for a potentially clickbait title saying this is the worst Disney sequel yet, because I'm not quite going to give it the lowest score yet, but it's still going to get an extremely low 2.4 out of 10. And a special thank you to my patrons, Yuhan Chase, Christina Franzi, Jacob Natasha, Nick Peter, Zach Rachel, Jordan Liam, Jaden Rebecca, Nico Veronica, another Jacob, Victoria Will, Carter Eamon, Jonathan Ben and Amanda for supporting me on Patreon, hence being patrons. If you also want to support me on Patreon and get your name mentioned here, make sure to check it out in the link in the description down below. Okay, this almost never happens, but I've just realized I forgot to record an outro, so thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe and watch another video and check out my Patreon and follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Yeah, I'll see you guys next time.